Some years ago, with our prior and the novitiate, I was celebrating Holy Mass on the grave of St. Gregory the Seventh, Hildebrand. It's now an altar itself in the very place where St. Matthew is honoured, in Salerno. St. Matthew is underneath in the crypt area, but this saint finished his days there even though he was Supreme Pontiff, because of the opposition of the Emperor Henry IV to his reforms. He was enforcing the rights of the Church against that of the state, and he paid the consequences. He was dear to us because the whole Gregorian reform was the ambit in which these orders that were wearing white and still are were born and flourished. Both the reform of the clergy and that of the monastic life from which he had come as a Cluniac monk were important for the renewal of the Church, and much happened in the 1000s and 1100s. He died in 1085. Another great monk is honoured on this day, especially in England, the Venerable Bede, called the Venerable already way down the centuries because people were aware of his sanctity. He had a very holy death, which is in writing from St. Cuthbert, and we know also how he had a huge influence on culture, for he was a historian and a good commentator of sacred scripture. When still a Baptist, I was puzzled by something he had written in the ecclesiastical history of the English nation. He was putting down things that were happening at the time. One thing that had just happened was the death of Trithelm, who, after his death, was given a guided tour of the other side, and eventually given a choice. Did he want to enter glory immediately or return for a while yet? Having seen what he had seen, he chose to return and spend his second existence in great penance, so as to be able to merit graces for those who were being lost. St. James does talk about saving souls by correcting them. Our Lady at Fatima talked about saving the souls of sinners through praying for them and making penance for them. Reparation, therefore, on the level of the mystical body, which is what another saint honoured on this day, St. Mary Magdalene de Pazzi, who was a Carmelite nun hidden in Florence, did in her life, which is precisely a life at the time of the Counter-Reformation, for the good of the Church, but in her case in complete hiddenness. She was from a pious family, a mystic soul, and was able to influence her own sisters greatly, and the Church in her area from her convent. We have on this day, therefore, many icons of the Lord, for each saint reflects the light of the Blessed Trinity according to his own modalities, and reproduces Christ on earth. But we are also called to produce Christ on earth, and the advantage of the priestly life in which there is a certain ministry as well as contemplation, is that it can reflect the Christus totus, all the elements of the life of Christ, including that which we see in the Gospel, that of welcoming the simple ones, loving the children into existence and respecting them and not pushing them away. And it is easier to handle humble souls and simple souls than self-sufficient souls who know it all. But coming back to the question of St. Trithelm, some time later I had to return to that, because if it was true, then the other side was a reality which confirmed what we were told not to believe, notably with regard to purgatory, and also to the power of the Holy Mass to help souls therein. And so one can see that even though somebody writing way back in the early 700s can still talk from beyond the grave and influence someone and correct someone. Sometime later I came across the figure of our own Julian of Norwich, completely hidden, recluded even, just a lamp. But she was given experiences and she wrote them down immediately, and another time towards the end of her life, after many years of interiorizing the experiences, rather like St. John at the end of his life. But in them we see providence. Providence. God uses all. Indeed, God writes straight with crooked lines. But these works coming out of hiddenness can still have a voice for centuries, and even though dead, the saints can still influence the living. Lord, use me. I give you all my faculties, including my tongue and my hand, my mind and my pen. Grant that my life may not be wasted, but may have a lasting effect on immortal souls and orientate them towards a safe haven in the beyond. Corpus natum de Maria Virgine, repasum